Hello everyone, today we're doing a room on TryHackMe called Attacktive Directory. It's an Active Directory machine and it's pretty much like a tutorial slash CTF. So we can see the first question here, what is the tool that will allow us to enumerate 139 and 445? It's enum for Linux. And we'll have a look at my nmap scan for this tool here. So if we scroll down for a bit and if we check out NetBIOS, it'll be here. NetBIOS domain name is TryHackMe-AD, and the invalid TLDR people commonly used for Active Directory is .local. This is because they don't want it rooted on the internet, and they don't want people on the internet to be able to access their Active Directory environment remotely. So we're going to start enumerating Kerberos users, and we can use the enum flag on Kerberos to do that. Well, Kerberoot specifically. So I'm going to install Kerberoot first of all. I think we can click it here and it'll take us to Kerberoot releases. So we're going to install Kerberoot first of all. It's a tool for ethical hacking, specifically for Active Directory environments. We'll be using the AMD 64 variant right here, as this is the version that will work on my CPU, and probably yours most likely. So we're going to close that, and first thing we're going to do, we're going to need to download these links as well, copy them. I'm going to do wget, and we're going to copy and paste the links. This will download it to our local machine. I'm going to do wget again, and we're going to copy the link, and we're going to copy the password. And we've got those two things there. We got the password and we got the username list. So the next thing we need to do is use Kerberoot. So we're going to need to make it executable. So if we go to Kerberoot plus X and we do Kerberoot and we do user enum-dc. I never really liked the syntax for Kerberoot, to be specific, because I just think it's a bit weird and a bit off most of the time. And we're going to change this to our DC IP. The DC IP is right up here. And before we do that, we need to go to our sudo nano etc host. This is like a dictionary that your machine uses to get IP addresses to names. So we're telling this IP is equal to this domain name, and this will tell our machine to locally look this up, because you won't be able to get this from the internet, because this is this private room on TryHackMe. So after we've done that, we're going to press enter and let this run. Before I forget, we need to use the user. So let me do ls. We need to get the user list first of all. So it's user list, and this is going to show us some usernames. One thing that will stand up is svc admin, and if we scroll down, that's the answer to this question here, svc admin, and we should be able to see a backup user in a minute or two. We can see this is just some Active Directory usernames. We can see some bad practices as well, the fact that there are two users here, one lowercase or one uppercase, and that's all really the important users. Yeah, for this Active Directory move, we could keep this going on, but I'm going to end it there because these are the only two users we really need. It's VC admin and backup. Backup could let us could give us a hint that this user could be doing the backup service or whatever. So we can see get users as NPU users for. So this is pretty much used for pre-authentication with Kerberos. Pretty much the accounts here don't really properly authenticate with Kerberos, and we can get like a Kerberos ticket in a way. And this is like the user's password, and we can crack the password. So one thing we're going to do right now is just use inpacket. So we can see inpacket np users. We're going to be specifying the user file, the directory, well the dc users.txt file. Actually, I don't think I have the directory users.txt, but I'm going to end this quickly first of all. We still have this in our saved, but one thing I think, yeah, we'll need to first of all quickly just cat user.txt. One thing we need to do quickly first of all is just go up to the top and scroll down quickly to Active Directory users. Pretty much this might take you a while. It's the only tedious part. There's a more efficient way of doing this, but like I physically can't think of a better way to do this. I know there's a way to do it with grep, but like I'm not really that good with grep, so this is the quickest way for me. So pretty much I'm controlling Alt backspace to backspace this out, and we're going to be doing Alt backspace to just keep doing this again and again. The reason is that we're going to be checking the passwords against the database. I'm going to need a username list. So this is our username list first of all, and if we go back to here, we got dc-users.txt, and the DC IP will be this one. Spooky.local, we got that from our nmap scan. I'm going to go to cherry tree for a second because it's had my notes. So if we look at the nmap scan here, we can see the domain is LDAP, which is a protocol used to query a domain controller. We can see it's spookysec.0. We ignore the 0, and this is our pretty much our domain. So if you come back quickly enough, and we get the IP again. If you scroll up for a sec, we'll be able to get the IP address. We've got the IP, and we should hopefully be able to do a pre-authentication account. Straight away we can get a user. This user is svc admin, so we're going to copy this quickly enough, and we're going to add this to hash.txt. We're going to put this in hash.txt, and one of the questions, if you look here, is what is the type of hash used? So you know this user is vulnerable to a pre-authentication attack, an ASP roastable account, you could say. So if we go back to our terminal, when we do hashcat, and if we do -help, and if we grep this 23, we should hopefully get some results. We can see a couple for Kerberos, and this is one way of doing it. So it took me a while to get the syntax right. So I did Kerberos 5, and you can see it's ASP and E-type 23, which is a bit of a weird way, to format it, which is one of the reasons I really didn't like this question. I thought it was a bit of a way to trip you up. And we can see the hash mode is, well, it's this hash mode here, 18,200. So if we do hashcat again, -m, and we do it against the hash word list, pretty much specifying that this is a Kerberos password, and we're going to be using a password list, and this should hopefully take a while, but we get the response straight away. So you can see we get the password management 2005, and if you put that in, that'll be the answer for that question here. So if we keep going, we can see we have a username and a password, and we can use SMB client, but I'd rather use a tool that's called netcrackexec, which is a better tool pretty much. And all this will do, the command here, is that we're going to be checking to get the SMB protocol with the username vcadmin and management 2005, and we're going to be using the shares command. And if you scroll to the top, we copy the password, and we'll see that we can have some shares that will be readable, and we signed in, the sign in is true, and we'll be waiting, and we can see we get backup is readable, and we can see sysvol, netlogin, and IPC is readable, but backup is the one that we're interested in, as these are just normal shares that are readable. We could do some further user enumeration by some RID brute forcing, but there's no point in doing that. We'll be doing some SMB client. So if we do SMB client, and I will talk you through the command. So I'm going to change the IP address because I've done this room before, and pretty much we need to double slash the IP address and the share, which is backup, and the capital U for user, which is a bit annoying since crackmackexec is the opposite, it's lowercase u, so I normally get that wrong. So we can see it's asking us for a password for a work group, and if we copy and paste the password in, we should see that we can download the file. So if you do ls and we do mget backup.credentials, I'm going to press yes, and we've downloaded it. Now if you exit out of the share and we concatenate the file, we can see we get some base 64 credentials, and we pretty much need to see what option will list shares. It's -L. -L will list shares in SMB client. You can do SMB client -help, and how many remote shares are listed. We can see we get 6 shares listed, and we can see what particular shares has access to a text file. It's a backup, and it's a base 64 file. And if we do if we do echo, so pretty much we're going to echo this base64 text and we're going to pipe it through. So we're going to send it, if this is true, it's going to send it to base64-d, which stands for decode. And we can see we get a password of backup, which is the backup user's password. And we get the password as well. So we get the backup username and backup password. And we can put that in for the what is the contents of the file decoded. And since it's a backup user, it's most likely that we'll be able to impacket dump. So if we do impacket, I think it's secret to dump, and you can see I got the syntax already ready. So I'll talk through this as well. So if I copy this and paste that in, so we can see we get DCIP. The DCIP is right here, and we get the domain name spookysec.local, and we get /backup, and with the password backup, we can see we get the backup password here, and we get the IP address. But we need to do this again. So what this is doing is specifying the domain controller's IP address, and this is against the machine we're going to be doing it against. So we're going to be dumping the DNS, the NTDS file, which is the DC's file for all the hashes, on the domain controller. We could do a SAM dump on a different machine, but we can see right now we're getting, I'm going to press yes, I'm going to delete this session because we don't need this. The only thing we need is the NTLM hash of, or the NT hash of the administrator user, and this is here. We can see what method is allowed to dump. If you look here, we're using this method here. I don't know what that stands for at all. Something to do with the API, and we can see with the password here. And what is the method of attack that will allow us to authenticate to the user as the user without a password? We can see pass the hash, and it's -h with evil-winrm. So if we authenticate with evil-winrm, so if we do evil-winrm and we put in the IP address of right here, so the IP is here, so evil-winrm-i, which stands for IP address, and the user is administrator, and the hash is right here. So this is the hash, it sits here. So this is, so we're doing a hash attack, which is when you don't need to specify a hash. Well, you don't need to specify a password, and you can log in with the user's hash, which is really good. If you can't decode the password due to it being too long or complex, you can just use a hash. WinRM will take a while. This is just an interactive PowerShell. So this is an interactive PowerShell terminal that you can access remotely. So I think it stands for PowerShell remote something. It's something to do with PowerShell remoting. And if you just cut the users, you can see we get Active Directory. That's the first one. And if we go down again, we can see with the administrators we need to go to backup. So if we just do CD backup, I'm going to spell backup properly this time. CD backup. So if we CD over to the backup user, and we CD a desktop, and we there again, and we do type previous.txt, and if we go down to SVC admin, so if we do SVC admin, and if we go back to this user, and if we CD over to SVC user, CD desktop, so if we CD to the desktop user, well, to the desktop of this user, we can see we get cat user.text.text, which is a bit of a weird, username format. And we can see we got the final user's password. So this is just this room completely done.